thank you firstly Navneet, ET, for getting us here all together and such a powerful, packed session. I'm surely it's going to be, because I'm famous for asking the wrong questions, but that doesn't matter. It's nice to see everyone. Good morning and welcome here. So not wasting more time because I've already got 50 seconds gone. So I'll just quickly come to the topic where we are talking about building smart destinations. So just to start that topic and tell you what smart destinations really mean, I'll just like to just little bit tell you what smart destinations really mean as per the book. So what smart destinations are a new paradigm in the tourism industry that aims to integrate governance, innovation and sustainability to create a more efficient and sustainable tourism ecosystem. The development of smart destination is a very complex process that requires absolute collaboration of various stakeholders, including governments, businesses, and local communities. And to build a smart destination, could be in country, states, or a particular destination, they should all focus on some key areas we've been talking about since morning. I heard Mr. Arvind Singh speak about it. I heard Mr. Madhavan speak about it. Governance, innovation, and sustainability are the three buzzwords. So to establish a clear governance structure that promotes collaboration and coordination among stakeholders, this includes developing policies and regulations that support sustainable tourism practices, as well as creating a framework for data management and sharing. And what does innovation really mean? It means it's a key driver of smart destinations. States should encourage the development of new technologies and solutions that can help improve the tourism experience while also promoting sustainability. And coming to sustainability, is the core of smart destinations. States should focus on developing sustainable tourism practices that minimize the negative impact of tourism on the environment and local communities. This includes promoting responsible tourism practices such as ecotourism and community-based tourism, as well as investing in sustainable infrastructure and transportation. So by integrating all these three, governance, innovation, and sustainability, states can surely build smart destinations that are more efficient, sustainable, and resilient. However, it's very important to note that the development of smart destination is a long-term process that requires the collaboration of various stakeholders, and that includes you and me sitting in this hall, and a commitment to it. So let's discuss and look at the reality of this. Is it achievable? Is it not achievable? What are the states doing at it? What is a private sector, Mr. Tejinder is doing in this, that how we can take this forward? I don't think we need to introduce the panel again. I think it was introduced. But we have two very prominent states here who are absolutely on the rise. And of course, we have the central Ms. Manisha here, so who's going to be talking with her vast experience of exposure to life and to the government. So Manisha ji, let me start with you first, So I think let's start what the center is driving it before we come to the states. So what do you think, according to you, are the prerequisites of creating smart and sustainable tourism destinations through effective governance? And what are the challenges that come across in building smart destinations in India? And I'd like you to be very, frank about it, because I think it's time that we all as industry people understand your challenges and what you are going through so that we understand it more and not keep blaming the government for it.
So thank you for asking that question. I hope I'm audible. So destination management and building a destination is all from the supply side of tourism, that you make a destination attractive, you make it accessible, you make it environmentally sustainable, and you involve the local communities into the whole process. I'm actually reminded of, when you talk of challenges, when I joined the tourism ministry, and earlier also when I was in tourism in Delhi and Mizoram, one of my family elders said, what do you do in tourism? So I said, well, we promote tourism, we ask people to travel. He says, no, but what do you do? By law and order, police karegi, safai nagar nigam karega ya local panchayat karegi, bus jo hai wo state transport corporation chalaega, rail gaadi chalaenge, hawai jahaz chalaenge, tum kya karogi? So that kept me thinking, and actually, in the entire thought process on destination development in the ministry also, we've had these several discussions, Arvind sir is here, that there are at least 20 to 25 checkpoints where a tourist touches a destination which need to be taken care of right from the stage of planning, for a tourist to plan to visit a destination, right up to the point where the person has visited and she wants to post on the social media about, and that is a very important part of tourism, by the way. So right from planning, you need to know about the destination, you need to know how to reach there, then you actually need to reach the nearest airport or railway station, then you need to take a taxi to your hotel, the hotel has to be clean, then of course the attractions come in, the attractions have to be accessible, the last mile connectivity in terms of road transport, in terms of taxis. Then at the attraction, do you have enough guides? Do you have enough activities to keep the tourist engrossed? I mean, we could be in a very beautiful locale, lovely mountains, but for how long can you keep looking at the mountains or keep looking at the lake? There have to be activities. And when you're running those activities, is someone coming from outside to run those activities, or is it the local community which is delivering those experiences? What are the unique niche experiences of that region, their food, their cuisine? That can come only from the local communities, and it makes eminent economic sense when you get local communities to deliver those experiences, because those people are there. You don't have to incur an expenditure in getting them from somewhere, supporting them, staying there. They are just there, and you are using their age-old wisdom to deliver very, very authentic experiences. And then, like, the whole thing about marketing. If you are in a hotel and you want to find out what experiences are available, does the concierge desk have enough information? Do you have people who will actually take you to deliver those experiences? If there's a boat ride which is very famous, or a waterfall, or a trek, do you have guides who are available to take the person there? And finally, like, the digital part of it, does it have internet? Do you have enough security in place? If there is an accident or a mishap, are there systems in place to for the police and the disaster management people to reach there? So all these are challenges in developing a destination, which we are looking at, and we are hoping that in convergence mode with the other ministries, we will be able to, for a lot of new destinations. Arvind sir mentioned in his address that there is a budget announcement. We have to develop 50 new destinations in challenge
So I'll come
mode.
to that. I will come to that in the second
And
question.
of course, I mean, any destination has to be exciting, has to be accessible, has to be safe. Those are the three basics, and has to be neat and clean.
Yeah.
So,
I will come on to that, the destinations, and I'll also come on to your coordination with other ministries, because I think that's a very, very important point. Abhijit, I think I'll come to you. From an underrated tourism spot to the most hotspot selling today, everything about Srinagar and Jammu Kashmir is everywhere known to globally. And after, like Arvindji said, G20. So that's like, it's been a beautiful experience. I was there present myself, and I think it was a beautiful experience that we had. But now you have literally 70 to 80 flights a day. So your tourism is on the increase, especially where domestic tourism is concerned, and I'm sure a little bit of international is also filtering in. So how do you think the ease of the burden on popular destinations like Jammu Kashmir government has identified your 75 offbeat destinations?
300 actually.
No, 75 offbeat, and I think total of 300. Yeah, so that's what I was told. So for development. So while proper infrastructure development in these destinations might of course take time, it's not going to be easy, what policy initiatives is the government really implementing to expedite these initiatives? I'd love to know that.
Thank you very much. At the very outset, good morning to all of you, and thank you for giving us an opportunity to share these ideas and pointers with you. I come from Jammu and Kashmir, and J&K in terms of tourism is probably a brand, a global brand. We are in many ways representative of our own wonderful country. We like to say that we are the crown of incredible India. And if the numbers are anything to go by, that is proving right. Just to contextualize what Jammu and Kashmir is going through, the population of Jammu and Kashmir is somewhere around 1.4 crores, 14 million. The number of tourists that they have already visited Jammu and Kashmir up till today has crossed to 20 million. This includes a huge chunk of domestic tourists, somewhere unforeseen numbers. Last year, the highest numbers was 18 million, was the highest ever in the last, ever since the recorded numbers. This year, we've already breached that, 20 million, and we anticipate that it will be much more than that. The positive is that this year we've had a 300% increase in the number of foreign tourists. Inbound tourists, there's a 300% increase since last year. And last year was the highest ever. In terms of the overall challenges, in terms of the overall issues involved in Jammu and Kashmir to take care and address various issues, you are aware that J&K is a Himalayan state. And we are, in many ways, a biodiversity hotspot in every single tourist destination that you talk about. So there is a lot of rush in, let's say, Gulmarg or Pahalgam or Sonmarg or Patnitop or Bhadarwah. So to address that as a policy initiative, J&K government and the Department of Tourism this year has started promoting 75 new destinations. And I am happy to report to all of you that this has helped us in a big, big way in taking off the rush of tourists from areas like Gulmarg and Pahalgam to areas like Dudhpatri, areas like Yusmarg, areas like Basoli, areas like Surinsar, Mansar, Sanasar in Jammu. What this has done is it has overall created a huge buzz in those areas. There is an infrastructure gap, most definitely, and now we are probably seeing hotels coming up, we are seeing private investment coming up in those areas. To add to this and to cater to our sustainability issue, we have started a homestay policy. Last year we publicized it. Again, I'm happy to share with you that we right now have 15,000 beds which are already registered with us, 5,000 in the process of registration, to 20,000 beds already up and about. In a place like Karna, which is right across at the LOC, you can see the POK area from that side. We had somewhere close to 1 lakh people visit that destination after we marketed it and projected it in the right earnest. And there, the local economy has completely transformed because of the homestays. So people now go and visit and have some kind of an experience in border areas, in Gurez, in Karna, in Uri, in places like that. I think that this is a major, major challenge in coming years. And sustainability ke perspective se, homestays are probably one of the best interventions that J&K government has done and is a case in point of how in Himalayan ecologies this is a grand success.
Thank you. I think that's awesome. But just to say, yes, homestays are going to be a breadwinner for a lot of people and touching the roots. And one thing we need to actually showcase while you speak, I think a lot of people in this hall may not have heard all this. So I think marketing needs to be done more on saying what has been done so that, we can take that forward. We'll come to Rakhi. Rakhi ji, Punjab is suddenly in the news the whole time. Earlier it was for all the wrong reasons, now I think it's for all the right reasons. So I think we should appreciate what you're putting in your efforts there. So now that we see from Rangila Punjab that it's literally come out of its shell and is finally going all out to promote its unique offerings. Could be culinary, could be wellness, could be ecotourism, water sports. So something comes into my mind, amidst all the promotions and developments, how is Punjab really involving the local communities to take this further? Because we know that Punjab is under the pressure of the youth not being very active and not being actually put in the right way of earning their living. So what are you really doing about it to create that sustainability?
So thank you very much, firstly, E.T., for inviting us here. Because the very fact today I sit on stage in this panel discussion speaks volumes for Punjab. That Punjab has been recognized as a tourist destination and is on the tourism front now. And I'm sitting here with the government of India and with Jammu Kashmir, also a new kid on the block, literally. So I like to call myself a new kid on the block instead of calling ourselves a budding destination. And also, because tourism is something which attracts investment, attracts everything good and positive. So I thought, and rather our state and our visionary CM He purposely, I think they thought that this should be a good starting point. So tourism is like, I always say, the marketing agency for a state. The way you attract people, the way people are attracted to you and your qualities always gets everything good into the state, be it investment, be it whatever. In fact, we have so many NRIs and we have a huge diaspora outside the country as well, who can act as brand ambassadors, which we realized ourselves. In fact, if I would just ask anybody who's sitting here in the hall today to raise his or her hand, if you have a connection with Punjab in any way, whether you're married in Punjab, you're a Punjabi, you have roots, or your nankes or your dadkes in Punjab, so I can see a considerable number of hands. Wherever you go, you will find a Punjabi. And we realized that this was the best way to utilize our potential. So from being known as, the takeoff point was when we realized, we sat across the table and we spoke to stakeholders, and we realized that there were only two colors which Punjab had shown to the world. That was red and one was green. And I was talking about this yesterday in yesterday's Tourism Secretary's conference as well. Red for sacrifice, green for the revolution. So we've given food, we've given our blood. But now it's time to show the other colors. Now getting a Punjabi to think in those terms is extremely difficult. I'll explain to you why. Because our religion, the state religion itself, literally, because we are dominated, and Sikhism is prevalent in the psyche. And the psyche of Sikhism never allows us to boast. So we never flaunt, we never show off. All we do is we never blow our own trumpet. It talks about the sonda, that is giving 1/10 of your savings in whatever you've earned to the, for service, for social service, for any other social activity. It talks about langar, now which is, it's called the God's blessing, so it's everybody sits together, partakes the same meal, whether you're, high or low, or you rank in whatever economic class, category, gender, irrespective, you sit on the same round. So you need to understand the Punjabi psyche before we enter into tourism. That's what we delved into. Maybe because I have a psychology background, it started off like that. But when I got into this entire thing, I realized we need to first touch the local population, as you're saying. Because unless people themselves were excited about getting people to their state, there was no point in promoting tourism from the outside. So that's something which we realized. We started going to the people, we started going to the local population, and everybody was so excited when they got to know that, people would come and this would help improve economic opportunities, the local population, and getting so many people on board. And when Punjabis do things, they do things in a big way. I mean, Jyoti, you yourself are a Punjabi, so I don't think I'll have to really explain. And I can see a lot of happy faces smiling here. So all of you know what Punjab is all about. We talk big, we have big hearts, and everything big. The dances, the culture, the cuisine, the colors, everything is so big and grand. We talk of the big, fat Punjabi wedding. So we are talking of those terms. So we had never touched on those issues. Today is the time we've realized that we should now be touching on these issues. Amritsar now, you will be happy to note, Jyoti, that it is being, now we call it a celebration destination. So I'm not calling it a marriage destination, we're calling it a celebration destination. And celebration can be year-round, it can be for anything. So while marriages and weddings are restricted to the good times, the saya and the stars and the whatever, we do not restrict ourselves to just that part. We are calling it a celebration destination. So come at all times, 365 days, and celebrate for whatever good, bad reasons you want to celebrate. So of course, when we talk about that, then we talk about building around it an infrastructure which supports the entire scenario. So that is about obviously getting the mice in and Amritsar incidentally was also one of the G20 hotspots. So we've got a lot built around it. So I think when the going gets tough, the tough get going. It's literally like that. And for Punjabis, I think that is the maximum it really holds. I've realized you give them a job, and if they are intrinsically motivated, they'll do it better than you thought they would do it. So I've realized now to just throw that little spark in, and the fire starts all by itself. So it's not like I didn't start the fire, they started it themselves. We move by that maxim now. And again, just by being known as a tourism destination for, let's say, religious purposes, because of our very famous Harmandir Sahib, that's the Golden Temple, as we colloquially called it. Apart from that, we're talking of now border tourism, which is, of course, which was always there, but was never really recognized. We always, you know, incidentally, we've been referring to it as the Wagah border. Now, I've always been trying to tell people, please change the mindset. Now, this is the Atari border. We have Sadki, we have Hussainiwala. So we have 3 points. And border is something which people are actually so patriotically passionate about. So the minute you talk about border, you know, there's a whole lot of chivalry, valor, patriotism, everything just seeps in. So those are you know, so we try to develop themes around circuits and also about, we have, so adventure tourism, again, we realize Gatka and our adventure sports, Akila Raipur Olympic. I mean, we've got so much on the, it's
offer.
only that, it's like a treasure trove of a literal grandma's chest. Every time I open it, I discover something new. Now, what should I do with that? But I need that support. Literally, the state needs that support from now, the government of India, and all of you stakeholders today who are sitting in this august house to kind of come and promote us and tell us, explain to us, and help us out literally, you know, how to put these treasure little beads together into a nice garland and celebrate the
So I will come to the stakeholders in my second question if we do have time. Now, Tejinder-ji, let me come to you quickly. You actually work with the government sector. And so I think from a private sector side, how do you really feel that, you know, can you share some collaborative incidents or some, you know, between the public and the private sectors that you've really gone through? Because that's what we want to hear, that how well is the government adopting the private partnerships?
First of all, I'd like to extend my gratitude for having me here to share my thoughts. And the eminent panelist here, I mean, since I work with the government, I work very closely with the government, worked very closely with the Ministry of Tourism also, and many other governments. Now, my initial thoughts, ma'am, the subject that we have chosen for today, that the destiny, how do we create smart and sustainable destinations? You know, my initial thought is that normally when we talk about smart, we relate it to technology, right? But I think the smart destination starts with basically before person gets into at the airport. You know, it's basically creating that feeling of, you know, going into holidays or going to a destination. And then when the person lands up at the destination, how do you manage him there? And what are the feelings and the memories that person goes back home? Now, keeping that principle in mind, all that we do is smart in my books. And at the same time, obviously, you will be able to do it over and over again if you are able to sustain it. Sustainability has to be key, and that goes inside a destination which is smart. Now, I'll give you an example. I mean, if you talk about, say, technology, there are various ways in which the core infrastructure, which is to be used by the consumers, I think in the initial thoughts, everyone talking about the consumer behavior, which is key to be a sustainable, to enable a sustainable destinations. Apart from that, the core infrastructure that the tourists are going to utilize, they need to utilize it with the sensibility. And there is an initiative which was taken by the Ministry of Tourism. There's a life for environment, you know, where there's a pledge which individuals take, and all of these areas that I'm talking about, whether it is on water, electricity, mobility, etc., is taken care of. And you are very careful as a tourist when you go and do it. And on this technology front, it's about whether it's water, so rainwater harvesting you can do, whether it is electricity, you can have solar panels to make sure that you're able to renewable energies more when you uplift the infrastructure within destinations. And the surveillance part with the CCTV cameras, etc., becomes very important. The face detection systems, SCADA system that comes along with it. And there are interventions. We, as a team, when I had the opportunity to work with Ministry of Tourism for 4 or 5 years, and we were there under Prasad program, where we had uplifted 50 to 50 destinations across the country. In fact, this program is led by ma'am, Marisha ma'am now. And I was there from 2015 to 2019. What we did was basically, I'm sure we must be doing it now as well, is if you have to uplift the infrastructure, use solar panels, use rainwater harvesting, use ICTs, enable Wi-Fi systems, create an environment where the connectivity can be seamless. In case if there are, within the destination, there are movements happening, make sure you've got e-vehicles for mobility solutions. And those days, I remember we used to always make sure 15 to 20% of the funding that we basically impart to the state governments on these initiatives are largely related around these sustainable solutions, infrastructures, and smart solutions, and all of that. But so that's the interventions that we're doing with the public sector. But at the same time, when we create infra, it's very important that we're optimally able to utilize that infra also. And that is where the operations and maintenance is very critical. And private sector has been playing a very critical role there through their CSR initiatives, etc. There's, again, I mean, while these things are there and the government is already doing a very proactive work on these initiatives, there is Adopt a Heritage as a scheme which is taking care of this. So private sector and public sector partnership is very important to make sure you're able to implement it on the ground. I think thoughts are very clear when it comes to the industry and to the government. It's we are able to implement it in true sense, in true spirits, is what I think the focus needs to be, and that's the focus is. Yeah, thank you.
I agree with you totally. Thank you, Tejinder-ji. But I think I'm going to move away from my regular questions that I really made to ask you. Because after hearing that, that's something that comes to my mind is not these questions which I had actually prepared. So I'm going to ask you, I think I'll start with you again, Abid. Tell me one thing, when we hear about these private partnerships and we hear about stakeholders, and I think we are 90% stakeholders sitting here, what are you really doing with stakeholders to keep them interacting with you? How are you supporting this system to actually work with Jammu Kashmir more? Is it that you're just marketing on your own and not really taking them into your own, under your own purview and working with them? And actually that question goes for all three of us. And I work very closely with the government too. So I would love to know that, are these documents that are being made, are these policies that are being made only there on paper? Are we just each one of us are on our own trip to solve these solutions? Or are we really not only taking the inputs, but putting into practice also? So that's something I'd like to ask three of you because I know the time is very less.
So, I am of the considered opinion that any government intervention, particularly in a department like tourism, without taking stakeholders on board, without consultative mechanisms, and without processes in which you involve and engage them, and make sure you taper your policy as per their inputs, is a recipe for complete disaster. It is not, I like to believe that tourism is a sector which is completely driven in large measure by not government policy, but by stakeholders. We come and go, but all of you stay and you perpetuate this growth, perpetuate the growth of this sector. So it is extremely important that we do this. If we don't, it is a recipe for disaster. In our case, we ensure, and I say vehemently, we ensure that every intervention we had a houseboat policy just the other day that got released. Now, you are aware that houseboats is a very peculiar Kashmir thing. We couldn't possibly fathom a houseboat policy without taking the Houseboat Association on board, without taking on board and inculcating inputs by the owners of the houseboats, by people who are involved in this. Any policy, the homestay policy, the tourism policy for that matter, it was changed in large measure because of the inputs of various stakeholders. So I think it is extremely critical in any government, any policy maker, who does not involve stakeholders, who does not involve the trade, the hoteliers, the transport, any other stakeholder in tourism, and in isolation, in silo, makes policy sitting behind a big desk, it is going to fail. It is not going to be implemented. We have seen that time and time often.
Thank you. Thank you for actually betting on us. Manisha ji, can we hear that from you?
So I completely agree with Abid, and I would say that the Ministry of Tourism has been walking the talk as well. We have the boards for adventure tourism. We have we have these mechanisms where policy papers have been drafted. We've come out with approach papers, a lot of documentation has been done. And to put all that in practice also from time to time, there are stakeholder consultations But I do feel also that these are at a generic and macro level. And I think we really need to go down, right down to the micro level and, actually do up some pockets of excellence. Because I feel that if you can see something being done in, flesh and blood, that has a much more salutary impact than anything else. So if, we can do up a destination, all these 20, 25 touch points that a tourist wants, if we could just do one destination or maybe, 20 destinations across the country, that yes, government, private stakeholders, community have come together to create this masterpiece. I think that will have a lot of salutary impact, and that is something we aim to do when we are, we have floated the guidelines for challenge mode. And that is, that is the effect that we need to see coming when we are developing destinations through that mode. On my own side, I have done a very small effort in a place called Thenzol in Mizoram.
Yes.
Thenzol was one of the first few Swadesh Darshan projects to be sanctioned. Pankaj Manchanda is also in this room, so with him, we created a platform, a digital platform for Thenzol. And we took care that whatever we are showing as attractions, there are actually people on ground, they are listed there to deliver those attractions to you, to take you to those places. So something like that I think should happen for each destination to make it actually seamless and not just while talking. So.
Yeah, thank you, Manisha ji. I don't have much time, but I would love to revert on that, but yeah, I'd like to hear Rakhi quickly. Navneet, wherever you are, I need that extra 10 minutes because I thought it was 40 minutes. Thank you so much. Yeah, Rakhi.
So I think when I speak from the state's perspective, especially from the state of Punjab, historically our governments have always been working in consultation with stakeholders. Because if you see the farmers' laws or anything, we've always somehow with the government, we've never worked in silos, we've tried to involve the stakeholders as well. So it comes very naturally to us to even kind of think of a situation whereby tourism could be thought of as an independent silo building activity is impossible for Punjab. So it comes naturally, all the stakeholders have been involved. But it's just that now we have to just drive that change and we have to kind of ask the stakeholders to act as catalysts. Because there's one problem I see from the government side. Whenever somebody is making a profit, we kind of, view it with a kind of sense of a disdain and a kind of a doubt. So then that iota of doubt we should kind of get out of our minds, and we should also try from our sides. I've been trying to explain that it should be a win-win situation. So anybody who's there as a stakeholder is only there in your system till such time he or she is winning. When he or she doesn't make a profit out of it beyond a certain point, you can do seva up to a point, but then you will actually collapse.
Totally agree with you.
So that is my only take from the guy.
Thank you. Tejinder ji, I would like to hear your thing that how is it happening and a quick thing because otherwise Navneet will ask me to get out.
So I'll just take 60 seconds. See, two things I would like to say here. Community involvement, that is a theme which is coming out in these three thoughts which just mentioned here, is critical. And to make what decisions that we are making at the top level, how do we implement it onto the ground? I think ways in which that can happen, probably we have got 1200 plus tourism youth clubs, so maybe we can utilize that resource base to make it happen. So involving community is absolutely key, to be able to make it sustainable, to be able to make it worthwhile, is my small point.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Without community, it's not going to happen. So just before I end, I'm just going to quickly ask you one question each, one answer, one word questions, absolutely one word. So Abhijit, I'll start with you because time is less. I don't want to start from that side. What is the one main responsibility of sustainable tourism you would include in your state? Just one I need to wrap this up.
This is the toughest question, and to wrap it up in one word, I think it is critical that we, one, involve local communities and so democratize tourism so that you give the local communities some stake in involvement and development of a particular destination and have the same benefits of tourism and its growth go to the poorest of the poor in rural areas than, let's say, in urban centers. Let us not limit tourism इसको सस्टेनेबल करने का एक ही तरीका है, टूरिज्म को डेमोक्रेटाइज कीजिए, bring it down to the grassroots level so that that person down there feels the benefit and economic spin-off, trickle down of the growth of this sector.
Thank you. Manisha ji, really good. What is the one way to be more eco-friendly in 2024? Can I have your thought on that?
Well, the Ministry of Tourism has just launched on 27th September, World Tourism Day, the Travel for Life program. That entire program lists out activities on parts of travelers as well as businesses. But if you ask me in one word, I will quote the Mizoram Tourism Pledge, which says that as a traveler, I will carry back nothing but memories and I'll leave nothing but footprints.
Wow,
so
lovely.
I think that's the
lovely.
best way of doing it.
That's lovely. Raki, what is one tip to prioritize content on digital platforms? Because I think that's a very need of the hour.
So connectivity is the buzzword nowadays, and for anything to be visible, it needs to be in the area domain of the digital media. And I think all of us today have realized that with all the new innovations coming in, we need to be on the digital platforms. Again, Punjab being well connected in all sorts of ways, not just digital, but also robust air net, every connectivity of every possible dimension. I think that is something which needs to be prioritized, and we can easily then get connected to information to and fro, make it a win-win situation for everybody, those who are giving the information, those who are into the information, and those who are the recipients of the information. So tourism that way could really progress, because as was very well said by Abid, that it needs to have an economic spin-off somewhere, and we are all now, I think, on the same page that this is the tip which will run the tourism industry now. So not just us sitting from the top dictating terms, but people right below dictating us literally what they want us to do for them.
Very good, very nice thoughts. Tejinder, one trend on shaping the future of destination marketing. What's your wish list, being on the private sector side?
See, I think, ma'am, e-marketing is critical, is very critical to creating a platform with which you are able to express the good things that you are bringing on offer. And I think the word of mouth is also very, very important because, our plan is basically to uplift our FTAs going forward in a big way. And they should become your repeat, or they should become your, what you call, in some senses, promoters, in their own sort of, wherever they go back. I think that can be well thought of, apart from the e-marketing promotional initiatives, which any which ways, I think we all know that digital marketing is very critical in whatever we do in our lives as well.
We are the largest ambassadors of our own country. I remember when I'm asking you this one-word answers, because Arvindji is sitting here. I remember the first time I met him and we were having on a Zoom, because that was COVID time, we had some interaction, and I asked him, what is that one wish you would like to be if you become the minister for one day? Arvindji, do you remember that? And he said, you put me at a very tight position, asking me on a Zoom, where everyone is listening to me, that if I become the minister, what will happen? So he said, okay, if I become the minister, tourism ministry will get the industry status. And believe you me, his wishes were granted immediately. I think within a week it was done. So I hope all your wishes that you're wishing for will come into place also. I think I'd just like to wrap it up by saying that some things that have come out of this entire discussion is that we need to focus on quality, reliability, and credibility to do the right marketing and to work with the stakeholders, because that's how the economic growth is going to happen, and we need to invest in sustainability for sure. Thank you so much for patiently listening to us. I hope you all enjoyed it. I enjoyed hearing them, because I think for the first, after a long time, I'm sitting on this side and not speaking. Thank you so much.